Mark Norman's new Netflix special has landed in a strange place. Critics are praising it. The LA Times is calling him a master of the quick joke, highlighting the precision, the efficiency, the fact that he can pack more punchlines into a minute than most comics manage in five. And if you've ever watched Norman, that checks out. That's always been his thing. Machine gun delivery, clean setups, tight wording, no wasted space. But then you look at how regular fans are reacting, and the energy feels completely different. Not outrage, not cancellation, not even real disappointment in the dramatic sense. It's more like people feeling tired. And that's what makes this interesting because nothing about Norman has fundamentally changed. If anything, he's gotten sharper. The writing is still there, the discipline is still there, the joke density is still elite. So why does it feel like something is off for a lot of viewers?
Well, people get mad about trans stuff. That's a touchy one. People are like, trans people exist. I don't know. I look at trans the same way I look at crypto. I don't understand all of it, but I've lost a lot of money on both.
Critics love craftsmanship. They love efficiency. They love a comic who understands structure and can deliver a high volume of solid jokes. Norman ticks all those boxes. There's a reason other comics respect him so much. He's consistent in a way that's actually rare. But audiences don't always watch comedy like critics do. Audiences watch for feeling. And what a lot of fans are saying, especially online, is that over a full hour, Norman's style starts to feel repetitive. The one-liners, the quick pivots, the constant rhythm. It works perfectly in short bursts. 5 minutes, 10 minutes, a clip, a late night set, an Instagram reel. In those formats, he's almost unbeatable. Every few seconds, there's a payoff. Stretch that same style across an entire special though, and the experience changes. Instead of variety, it can start to feel like one long note. Instead of momentum, it starts to feel like pressure. Some people even describe it as robotic, like he's afraid to sit in a moment for too long, afraid of silence. And once that feeling sets in, it doesn't matter how many jokes land, the audience starts craving something else.
But the baby's cute and fat and gay, and I like him, but I'm not gonna become one of those baby guys. You know those guys like, hey, everybody, look at a picture of my kid. How about that? Like, show me a picture of your wife. Yeah, weird. Babies are the only relative you're allowed to show off how cute they are with a photo. You can't be like, my sister's 17. Check it out. Huh? Look at that. Yeah, I caught her at bath time.
This is where the comparison to his earlier work comes in. A lot of fans still point to Out to Lunch as his peak. Not because the jokes were wildly different, but because the style felt fresher then. Less familiar, less expected. There's a big difference between discovering a rhythm and hearing it again after years of podcasts, clips, and specials. And that leads to another factor people keep bringing up: overexposure. Norman is everywhere. Podcasts, guest appearances, stand-up clips, interviews. He's one of the most accessible comedians in the world right now, which is great for building a fan base, but it comes with a trade-off.
Bedwetter up to like 14, and then I was kind of an alcoholic for a while, and then it would come out again. So I can't tell you, I peed on more women than R. Kelly.
When you hear someone talk every week, you start to learn their patterns. You start to hear the cadence before the punchline arrives. You start to recognize the structure of the joke. You can almost feel where it's going before it gets there. And when that happens, the surprise, which is the core of comedy, starts to fade.
In the 90s, trans were like Miss Pac-Man. Just Pac-Man, but with a bow in the hair. That was about it. Now trans were like AI. I'm like, damn, look at that. My friend's like, it's not what you think. I'm like, I don't care. I'll hit that joystick. Yeah, it feels like transitioning's up. My childhood friend transitioned from a dude to a lady. She was like, I want us to stay close, still be friends. I don't want anything to change between us. And I was like, well, you started it.
And here's where things get even more interesting, because this is happening at the same time that audience taste seems to be shifting in a different direction. We live in a fast world: TikTok, Reels, clips, everything chopped into seconds. You would think that would make Norman's style even more powerful. Short jokes, fast delivery, constant punchlines. It should be perfect for the moment. But what's actually happening is almost the opposite. People are starting to crave longer form again. You see it with comics like Ali Sadiq, who built serious momentum of long, detailed storytelling.
So I'm going to necessities, and as I'm walking, the dude came by me and said, "Hey, you heard, huh?" I said, "Heard what?" "Mexicans got on boots."
You see it in the way audiences sit with extended bits, with narratives that build and pay off over time. There's something satisfying about a comedian taking their time, guiding you through a story, letting tension build before releasing it. It feels different. It feels immersive. And when you go from that kind of experience back to a rapid-fire one-liner format, the contrast becomes more noticeable. Not worse, just different in a way that some audiences aren't as locked into as they used to be. Mark Norman hasn't really moved in that direction. He stayed true to his lane. The deadpan delivery, the punch-heavy writing, the almost Jimmy Carr-like rhythm, where the joke is everything and the space between jokes is minimal. And there's something admirable about that. He's not chasing trends, he's not forcing himself into a storytelling mode that doesn't fit him. He knows what he does well and he leans into it. But the risk of staying in the same lane for too long is that the road starts to feel familiar. And familiarity in comedy can be dangerous because once the audience starts predicting the ride, the excitement dips, even if the quality is still there.
He's like, "I want to speak to your manager." My friend goes, "Watch out for her. She's a real Karen." I was like, "Well, she's Muslim. She's more of a Quran." Yeah.
That's why the reaction to this special feels so split. Critics are looking at the craftsmanship and seeing a comedian operating at a high level. Fans are watching the same performance and feeling like they've been here before. Both things can be true at the same time. Which brings you to the real question sitting underneath all of this. Not whether Mark Norman is still funny, he clearly is. The question is whether the format he's mastered is still the one audiences want to spend an entire hour with. Because comedy right now feels like it's at a bit of a crossroads. Short-form dominance has trained audiences to expect constant stimulation, but at the same time, there's a growing appetite for depth, for stories, for something that feels more like an experience than a sequence of hits.
I know.
You're a really good joke writer. You're like
thanks,
a pure.
man.
I feel like you and Sam. You do a pod with Sam Morril.
Yes.
What is it? It's We Might Be Drunk. Also, just like pure joke writers. I wonder if like being in New York fuels that in a way.
Well,
That
yeah.
It's like that type of audience.
Definitely. Quick. We
Yep.
have ADD. We need, it's a New York minute, you know? So you got to have a punch. And then you come out to LA and you're like, wow, I just got lost in this guy's story and it had a big ending. And I'm like, I don't have the courage to like sit in a story. I went for Bill Burr once years ago and he was like, hey, you got good stuff, but like, you got to start blowing that stuff out and getting into stories. And I was like, oh, wow, okay. And I tried it and it went horrible and I wasted 10 minutes and I just went back to jokes.
He's one of the best in the world at delivering fast, tight, efficient jokes. But the very thing that makes him great in small doses can start to feel overwhelming in long ones, especially when audiences are beginning to lean towards variety and narrative again. And maybe that's where the next evolution comes in. Not abandoning what he does, but expanding it. Letting some bits breathe, taking the audience on a longer ride here and there, mixing the rapid fire with moments that stretch out a bit more. Because the skill is already there, the writing is already there, the presence is already there. It's just about whether he wants to stay in that lane he's mastered or explore what happens when he steps slightly outside of it. And to be clear, he doesn't have to change at all. There's still a massive audience for what he does. There always will be. Some people prefer pure jokes over stories. Some people want that relentless pace. Some people love the density. But the reaction to this special suggests something subtle is shifting. Not a rejection of Mark Norman's, just a quiet signal from parts of the audience that they might be ready for something more than just hits.